Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And let's talk about this big controversial story that Cardi B has been embroiled in this past week. A clip from an old Instagram Live that she did several years ago has resurfaced, in which she admits to having drugged and robbed men in order to make ends meet, survive, get to where she is today. That's essentially how she kind of painted the scenario in the middle of a very heated and emotional rant where she was kind of fighting off this presumption that her fame, her success, her come up is essentially just being handed to her and she didn't work for it, she didn't scrape for it, so on and so forth. Now that this clip has resurfaced, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of controversy surrounding it. There has been this surviving Cardi B hashtag that Complex over here and many other publications have reported on. People applying what Cardi B did to the current Me Too dynamic and also comparing what she did to the predatory acts of individuals like R. Kelly. And honestly, I'm not really seeing the outrage factor over this. I'm not really seeing the reason to freak out over this and scream like, double standard, double standard. Oh, if it had been a man. And look, that's not to say that what Cardi B did wasn't wrong and wasn't illegal. It most certainly was. I mean, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on this sort of thing. But if Cardi B had been caught doing this when she was doing it, I would be completely fine with Cardi B going to jail. And in fact, whoever this guy or these guys were who she did this to, if after this live clip resurfacing, if they want to come forward and admit that they were the victims of Cardi B and essentially sue Cardi, I mean, I think that's fair game as well. But I find it kind of weird and a little odd that Cardi B is essentially being taken to task for this, despite the fact that she has come up in a genre that is pretty legendary for some of its biggest artists making millions of dollars off of spinning tales about all the dirt they did, all the illegal stuff they did, all the abuse and violence and sometimes even murder they engaged in to get to where they are today. And yes, I know that in hip-hop there is a lot of violent rhetoric, there is a lot of hyperbole, but honestly, you can look at some pretty key songs and key records from key artists, and they will admit in interviews that certain things that they talk about in songs they actually did, and those actual things they actually admitted to are actually kind of awful. It's not all just made the hell up. It's not all just a fantasy. But still, why is what Cardi admitted to not being thrown into the same basket as every other terrible thing any other notable rapper has done and talked about in interviews in their music, with the understanding that that is what they had done in order to scrape, survive, get to where they are now? Because if you look at the Instagram Live, that's very much the tone Cardi took. But look, if you want to talk about what Cardi B admitted to, not being right, not being okay, it's wrong, nobody should do it, that's one thing. If you're going as far as canceling Cardi B, consider every other artist out there that you also have to be throwing into the trash bin of cancellation if Cardi B has overstepped that line. So I guess one thing I'm advocating for here is consistency. The next obnoxious point that I want to address that's surrounding this whole surviving Cardi B thing is this apples to oranges comparison of what R. Kelly did, what Cardi B did. Look, being a stripper and luring a man into a hotel is not really the same thing. It's not really the same power dynamic as being a millionaire, being famous, having tons of influence, having all of these people at your beck and call who are doing everything for you, so all you do is pay them, you don't have to lift a finger. In fact, all of these people are aware of and aiding you in your horrible lifestyle where you continually control and abuse multiple people. You've essentially spent millions of dollars on building like your own harem from the ground up. That is not really the same thing as robbing somebody, whether it's in the context of drugging them and robbing them or robbing them on the street. Both illegal, both wrong, both should land you in jail, but still different scenarios and different power dynamics. The scenario that Cardi B talks about where she's luring a guy into a motel for this and that and the other thing, a lot of times that scenario actually ends up in the woman getting raped, the woman getting killed. At the point that Cardi B was engaging in this behavior, she wasn't a multi-millionaire superstar with a team of lawyers fighting to prevent her from seeing any kind of legal repercussions for her illegal acts. If you want to talk about the scenario of, oh, if a man did it, you don't really have to go much further than Bill Cosby, except Bill Cosby was raping all of the women that he drugged, and Bill Cosby got away with it for decades and decades and decades and decades. And when he did it, he was mega famous. And when he did it, he was very powerful. When he did it, he wasn't worrying about taking care of himself. He wasn't worried about surviving. And one more thing about the outrage that I'm not quite getting is after Cardi has apologized about this, what would you have her do? Exactly what do you want from Cardi at this point? I get that there are some people out there that feel like she's continually getting away with a lot of bullshit that she really should be taken to task for, and I understand that, and once more, I understand that what she did was wrong and illegal. But as of right now, I don't see any reason for Cardi to see any more backlash off of this than any other rapper has working currently who is on trial for rape, who there is literally video of them beating the shit out of a woman, who has dropped lyrics where they literally brag about and glorify drugging women. Yeah, if it had been a man, it would seem that there are a lot of men right now who have done shit like this along these lines, or even worse, and they still got careers. They're still making money, and for the most part, their fans still love them. So if over this, Cardi B is actually canceled for good, the double standard would actually be, hey, why is Cardi B's career over? And meanwhile, these other artists who we have evidence of them doing even worse things are still making millions of dollars a year. As far as I can see right now, Cardi B is getting the same kind of backlash over this that a male artist would. You think that if this came out about 6ix9ine a year ago, that would have stopped his rise to fame? No. If it was going to, the original story of the abuse he took part in with that minor would have stopped his rise to fame. That would have put him in prison. He's on trial now for racketeering. I know this is a very heavy topic, and look, once more, this is not an endorsement of anything that Cardi did or admitted to, but exactly what people want out of dragging this up outside of settling some sort of personal vendetta or just stirring a bit of drama out of pure boredom, I don't know. All the comparisons I see to other celebrities engaging in other acts of abuse, they feel apples to oranges because they're either just different scenarios or they're not really taking into account the danger and vulnerability that people like Cardi were in at that point in their life. If you don't look at that story and come to the realization that, hey, maybe making most sex work illegal creates an underbelly of crime in that field of work, and it puts everyone engaging in it, both providers and consumers, in a grave amount of danger. If that's not your takeaway on some level, I'm sorry, I feel like you're kind of missing the bigger picture. I'm gonna leave it at that though. I'm sure you guys will provide your own arguments and counterpoints and absolutely hate a lot of what I had to say in the comments, but still, that is my piece, that is my point of view. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Cardi B, surviving Cardi B forever.